Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amelia and I'm currently reading the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. Today I want to talk about writing a book. Now this has been something that I've kind of always wanted to do, like even as far back as first grade. Like I don't know why we're asking first graders what they want to do with their life when they're literally like 6, but one of the things I always said was I wanted to be an author. And I really always loved like writing stories. I remember I used to always write these like silly little stories about cat and dog, that were their names, and they were a cat and dog, just like going on adventures, having a good time. And throughout my life I made various attempts to start writing a book, rarely getting further than like one chapter if I was lucky, more often than not just like, oh, I have this cool idea that could be like a book, and then like I write it down and then that's like as far as it ever got. But recently I've been really wanting to like actually like commit to an idea and write a book. And so I've had a couple ideas kind of like floating around in my brain recently, and one is kind of like for a more like adult, like involved fantasy involving like dryads and all that kind of stuff. But that idea I think is still pretty like unformed. Like I have some ideas for like the Society of the Dryads and all that kind of stuff, but not a lot for like the whole like world in general and how things would happen, like what would happen and how things would play out. So I think I'm not going to work on that one anytime soon. But in the last couple of months I've been kind of working on developing an idea for a more new adult / YA kind of fantasy story that centers around the concept of there being like two kinds of witches. There's the day witches and the night witches, and their powers only work during their respective times of day. So that is the story that I'm hoping to develop in this new series, in which I will try to write a book. And my idea is that I want to bring you guys along on the way with me. I've developed kind of like a plan that I don't know if it will work. I didn't like do any research on like the best way to plot out a book and then like write it. I kind of just made up a plan that seemed to me like it would work for me. So I made a little Notion page and we're gonna go through it, talk about the plan, and hopefully I will be able to actually stick to it and write something that I can share with you. Okay, so I have my laptop here and I'm going to show you guys the page that I have set up to help me follow the plan that I've come up and hopefully be able to actually like flesh out this world and write this book. So we've got ourselves a little kind of witchy cover, and then a quick blurb which I will read for you. So my idea, or like quick brief of my idea, is a new / young adult fantasy story where the day witches have seized power, stopping the flow of time and trapping the world in endless day, shutting the night witches away from their power and forcing them to flee court. So that's like the really like basic premise, and I'm gonna sort of develop my ideas from there. So the first little section I have here is called Where Even Are We? And this is all about establishing the world that my story is going to take place in. For me, I think it's going to be really important to establish like the geography, the map, the basic world history of my world, because it will definitely have a strong impact on what has happened since then and why my characters do certain things, why things are the way they are. I think that'll make it easier for me to locate my characters in the world in like a spatial as well as like a temporal manner, so that like the events make sense within the world, if that makes sense. I think it will just be like easier to write a story if I have a world that's taking place in already. Like if I build the world first and then put the characters into that world, the existing structure that I've built for the world will inform a lot of what the characters do without me having to like come up with excuses. Like they'll just be reasons based in like the lore of the world. And then another part that's important to that is like the current politics, like what countries exist. Is it just one country? Are there many countries? What are like the basic politics of those countries? Are they like kingdoms, democracies? What the hell are they? And then international relationships, like do they all get along? Do they not get along? Are they about to go to war with each other? Who knows? That's what I want to work on establishing in this part. So then, because my story is about witches, I obviously need to have some sort of magic system. So my next little section is what even is magic anyways? And this is where I'm going to develop the magic system, like what is the cost of it, what is the cause of it, like what can it do, what can it not do. I also kind of want to look at what is the like basic history of the magic, like the types of magic. As I said, we have the sun witches or the day witches and the night witches, so like what makes their powers different, and then how do you use magic, who can use it, what is it like to use it, what can it do and what can it not do. Obviously that's going to have a huge impact on my story and how it plays out, because if they're witches, they're probably going to be using their power. So what can it do and what can it not do is going to be important to like how the story moves forward, and like setting rules for the magic system will make it more, I don't know if I want to say believable, because obviously like it's magic, but like it'll make the story like make more sense if there's kind of some set rules. Like there can be like leeway, but obviously I think most more successful magic systems like have boundaries. Like if the magic can just do anything at any time, it makes it less like, it just makes it too easy to like use it as like a way to get yourself out of plot holes. And then the next little section that I have is the cost of using magic. I think a lot of the magic systems that I find most interesting have some sort of cost, whether it's like it takes a lot of energy from the spellcaster, or they have to take energy from like the environment and by it results in like killing plants or whatever, or something. I think this is always like good to have some balance in a magic system, so a cost is like a good way to just balance your system so that it's not like too OP and makes the story like just like too easy, like for the protagonists to resolve, because they just magic their way out of everything. There's got to be like a reason, or there's got to be some sort of like, I wouldn't necessarily say downfall, but just yeah, like a cost to their actions. Sorry, this plant is just wanting to be involved. And then after that I have magical artifacts, because in my like brief of the story I call it a beat sheet. It's like a film writing term. I don't know if they use it in regular writing, but essentially it just means like you write out like each beat of the story, so like the most important like scenes sort of kind of idea. But in that I have a couple of magical artifacts that are really important to the story, so I really want to kind of flesh them out here, talk about like what uses they have, what are their powers, what is the history of them, like where did they come from, and then what are their limitations, so that it's not just like a super magic thing that can let you do anything. I don't want that to be the case. But yeah, I just need to like kind of think about what form they take as well. I haven't actually really considered that at all. And there are like some other more minor magic artifacts that are actually pretty important to the story, but like they're not as powerful, and I need to kind of work out how those work as well. And then the last thing I have is the aesthetic. So what does it look like? Can you see it? Can everybody see it? What does it look like to the people who can see it? That's pretty much it. It's pretty simple. But yeah, that's I think everything I have for the magic section. And then my next section is who even are these people? And I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory in this section. I just want to kind of create like a character sheet for each of my important characters. So we'll see here we've got our main girl, our side girl, the crown prince, other important character. I just left an empty slot in case there's somebody who is very important to the story and needs like a full fleshed out thing. Like I'll probably add more in here like as I add characters to the story. I don't really know every player yet. And then I also just have the day witches and the night witches down here. So if I open these up, you'll see I have a whole bunch of things inside these. They're, I think, pretty exhaustive. Should be everything I need to like develop characters who are fleshed out, realistic, and who, when I'm writing from their perspective or just like about them, like I would know how they would speak and like what they would do. So each of these has the same little sections in here. We've got name, obviously that's pretty important. I haven't named anybody like 100% yet. I have like some names in mind for the main people, but nothing that I've like committed to. And then next we have family, so just like who are they related to? Are they important to the story? What is their family history? What relevance does that have to who they are now, like where they are and what they'll do? And then next I have life experiences. What was their childhood like? Where did they grow up? What were their formative experiences? And what were their like friendships? Because I think what your life has been like is definitely going to impact what actions you take. So that's something I definitely want to develop a little bit so that I know what my characters are going to do and why they're going to do it. And then next we have personality. So this includes likes, dislikes, character traits, including positive, negative, and then kind of more neutral traits. Tone of voice, how do they speak? What are their hopes and dreams? And what do they like and dislike in other people? This is obviously a pretty important section, like what the character is going to be like, pretty much in general. Like in the most like day-to-day or page-to-page experiences with the character, this is probably going to be some of the most like important stuff to know for how to write the character. And then finally we just have aesthetics. What did the character look like and what do they wear? So just like the physical appearances, because that's not like the most important part, but it's definitely still gonna like have an impact on their relationships with other people and their day-to-day life. And then I just have that same, it's all the same stuff under here for the crown prince and other important character. And then at the bottom here we have the day witches and the night witches, and these are slightly smaller categories. For each of the witch sections we just have like the powers, so what are the top powers that are associated with the day witches versus the night witches, what do they want as a collective and what are they willing to do to get that, and then what are the key players within those. So these would be like more minor characters but who don't necessarily need to have like a massive like family history thought out, but like are still important enough that I need to like think about who they are to the story and what do they want. So I've got space for 2 in the day witches and space for 2 in the night witches, and I think that wraps up everything I have for the characters. And then the final section that I have in here is what even happens, in which I talk about the plot and plot out the plot. So I don't have the plot in this section, and I'm not actually going to share the beat sheet that I have because I don't want to spoil anything. If I actually write this book, do you want to already know the ending? Probably not. So I just have a few sections of like steps to follow to hopefully get me to the end. So which starts with refining kind of my ideas of what's going to happen based on the world and character development that I'm going to do, and then I think maybe dividing the scene into chapters so that I can like, so it's like writing small blocks and it might be easier for me that way. And then of course write the first draft, edit it, write the next draft, and then it's probably going to want to get some sort of professional outside editor to look at it, because I know I'm probably not going to be the best editor, and I think it's really important to get other people's opinions on your work, because it's easy to become blind to the flaws of your own work, I think, or to be overly critical, and I think it's just going to be really important to get outside eyes on it like as soon as I can, so that it can be the best that it can be. So then after that, I just have writing another draft and then going back and forth between editing and revising until I think it's good enough, or somebody else thinks it's good enough. I don't really know how this works, to be honest. Okay, that is everything I have for my Notion template and for my plan for my writing so far. As far as sharing the writing process on this channel, I'm hoping to create a series of videos following me as I try to complete each of the steps I've set out for myself, probably at least like 1 video per section, although stuff like the characters might take more than 1 video, probably more like a video for each like really important character so that I can really get into them and share as much of that process as I can. And then once I have the first 3 sections sort of fleshed out as much as I think is necessary, then I will probably switch to some like writing vlog style of videos, so you have that to look forward to if you like vlogs. But yeah, that is going to be the plan moving forward. I hope you will stick around on this adventure with me as I try and hopefully succeed to write my first book. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.